Okay, get your pen and paper ready. You're going to need to keep track of some sizes and dimensions and so on for cabinets. So, uh, upper cabinets are typically 30 inches tall. That is an industry standard. And then base cabinets are 35 and a quarter inches. If you say they're 36, that's good enough because that's what the countertop height is 36 inches. So, and typically we have 18 inches in between. So if you add that all up, top of our cabinets is 7 feet from the floor up 84 inches. And this is the kind of process one has to go through when designing or figuring out what cabinets go within a space. So you would go to the site and measure up what you need to fit into the space. And you would take that measurement from the corner to the window, that measurement of the window, and any other restrictions that are in the room. And then you've got to figure out how to get everything into place. So obviously we have a fridge that's going to be in this neighborhood here. There. That doesn't look like fridge, but you can see it. It's hard drawing with a mouse. All right, and then obviously here is where the stove is going to go. So trying to make everything fit. Typically your sink goes underneath your window. So you would start your layout based on your sink cabinet right there. And you would need to know what type of sink is going to go into that. So there's a lot of planning that goes into a kitchen. So first you need to know the fridge size. You need to know your sink size, because fridges can be many different widths. They're all over the map for sizes anymore. Stoves are a standard of 30 inches. So you would require 30 inches in between the countertops, okay, at that point. And then possibly beside a sink, you would have a dishwasher, and that dishwasher would be 24 inches. Okay, dishwashers require 24 inches of space in between. All right, so next slide. All right, cabinets come in increments of 3 inches. So the smallest cabinet is 9 inches. That is an industry standard, and then every 3 inches beyond that in increments. So typically you want to stop around 30 inches as your largest width. That'll be a double door for the cabinets, but anything bigger than that, the shelves start to get too long and they start to sag. All right, now you would always start from the corner out and worry about your corner cabinets. So there's different types of corner cabinets. In this particular layout where the lines are shown, it shows a blind type corner here. So that's showing a 12-inch depth. That is the depth of a upper cabinet. So you would find an increment of 3 inches that makes sense here. And note that the bottom cabinet matches. All right, that is always, whenever possible, match up your cabinets top to bottom. And then obviously you have a 30-inch cabinet above the stove, and that is the standard size for a hood fan. So unless you have a specialized stove, you're going to have a 30-inch hood fan. Now, depending on whether you have a hood fan, a microwave, and so on, will affect your height as well. So the height of that cabinet um, will be determined by whatever hood fan goes underneath of it. And the heights of those cabinets are in 3-inch increments as well. So they start off at 12 inches in height, and then they go 12, 15, 18, 21, and so on. All right, so up to 30 inches in height. So everything works in 3-inch increments, width-wise and height-wise. And then same thing for your fridge. Now, fridges, you have fridge cabinets that are multi-depth. So you can have a 12-inch cabinet, and then they're hard to reach over top of the fridge. Sometimes you can get full depth or 24-inch depth cabinet to go above a fridge. So something to consider in design and layout. All right. Outside of that, all of your base cabinets are 24 inches deep, and that's a rough guess because your countertops, prefab countertops, are 25. So it gives you that little bit of overhang beyond the face of the cabinets so that water and so on, if it runs off the countertop, hits the floor. Installation. When you're installing cabinets, the practice, depending on the situation. Sometimes you want to start with the base cabinet. Sometimes you want to start with the uppers. On a simple kitchen like this, it's easy to start with the uppers, and that keeps you from dropping tools, leaning against the base cabinets. So you always want to start from the corner and work your way outward. Now, in this particular case, we're running to the stove on the left side there, and you may require to leave a space or on against the wall there so that the edge of this cabinet lines up with the countertop, not the base cabinet, because the countertop, when it comes from the corner towards the stove out this way, it will have to overhang the cabinet a little bit. So you got to check your countertop measurements to see where that's going to land, so you don't have to trim it and fit it, because they're generally pre-cut and ready to go for you. So you got to try and space your cabinets out to match your countertop. So you want that countertop to be flush or overhang. So if it's overhanging, then we need the filler, but that cabinet needs to line up with that countertop. So then you can work your way towards a window. Now, depending on, once again, cabinets and countertop, because this countertop is going to run all the way out to here, and we want this next cabinet to be lined up with that. So depending on sizes and so on, you may have to put a filler on this cabinet to keep the space beside the window the same on both sides. So there's lots of little planning and thinking as you go along to make sure everything is spaced equally. You don't, if you're going to be tight against the trim there, you want to be tight on the trim on both sides. So something to think about as you're working your way along. Okay, so this cabinet above the stove, like I said, it's got a hood fan probably in it, and it has to be directly above the stove. That's why we had to put a filler in to make sure it lined up with the countertop. Again, fly. All right. Now, then, as we can work our way across the top and putting in all of our cabinets. Sometimes you'll end up with a fridge gable at the end to help hide the end of the fridge. You might end up with a fridge gable on both sides of the fridge to help hide the end of the fridge, or the sides of the fridge, which is always nice to have. Now, as you're going along, screwing your cabinets together, and do not screw your cabinets 100% to the wall yet. You may have to do some shimming on the corners to get doors to twist. They're all boxes. You want to twist the box, get them. So you may have to shim them. You may have a crooked wall. So you may have to loosen screws and add shims as you go along. And then the same thing for the base cabinets. Ideally, with base cabinets, you can basically drop them in place, throw them against the wall, screw them all together, and screw them to the wall last in some cases, right? But once again, you may have to put fillers in to make everything line up so that the fridge cabinet line, or sorry, fridge, puff, puff, pass. The sink cabinet lines up with things as you go along, and keep everything straight, level, plumb.